In 1972, two men on Guam found a World War II soldier still hiding in the jungle. His name was Shōichi Yokoi, and for nearly 3 decades, history had moved on without him. Guam had been part of the Pacific War. Japanese forces captured the island in December 1941, shortly after the attack on Pearl Harbor. For the people of Guam, occupation was not an abstract event. It was daily fear, military control, and a war brought directly onto their homes. In 1944, American forces returned. The Battle of Guam was intense, and by August, the island was back under American control. But not every Japanese soldier surrendered. Some disappeared into the island's interior. Among them was Shōichi Yokoi, a Japanese soldier who had been sent to Guam during the war. When the fighting turned against Japan, he retreated into the jungle with other men. For most soldiers, the war ended in 1945. For Yokoi, it became something else. A hidden life. The jungle became his world. He learned to move at night. He avoided roads, villages, and open ground. He made clothing from bark fiber. He built tools by hand. He survived on roots, nuts, fish, shrimp, and whatever the land could provide. At first, he was not alone. Other Japanese stragglers remained hidden in Guam after the battle. But over the years, the number grew smaller. Some surrendered, some died, others vanished from the record. Yokoi stayed. He dug a narrow underground shelter near the Talofofo River. It was not a cave of adventure, it was a hiding place. Low, dark, difficult to enter. A place built for one purpose, not to be found. Outside, the world changed. Japan surrendered. Cities were rebuilt. The Cold War began. Men walked on the moon. Television entered living rooms. A new generation grew up with World War II already becoming history. But in the jungle of Guam, one man still lived as if capture was waiting just beyond the trees.
On January 24, 1972, 2 Chamorro men, Manuel Tolentino de Gracia and Jesus Mantonona Duenas, were near the Talofofo River checking traps. They noticed something unusual. A man appeared from the jungle. He was thin, cautious, and startled by their presence. He had been alone for years, and the sight of other people meant danger. The encounter was tense, but it did not become the violent ending he may have feared. The men overpowered him and brought him out of the jungle. The stranger was identified as Shōichi Yokoi. He was in his mid-50s. He had been hiding since the final phase of the war on Guam. Authorities soon realized that this was not just a missing soldier. It was a living fragment of 1944, discovered in 1972. News spread quickly. The story seemed impossible, but it was real. A World War II soldier had been found alive on an American territory nearly 27 years after Japan's surrender. Yokoi's survival fascinated people around the world, but the real story was more complicated than the simple headline. He had not been fighting a secret war for decades. He had been surviving one. Some accounts suggest he had seen leaflets or information saying the war was over, but he did not trust them. Other explanations point to the shame he associated with surrender and capture. For Japanese soldiers trained under wartime military culture, surrender could be seen as disgrace. Yokoi carried that burden long after the empire he served had disappeared. When he returned to Japan in February 1972, he was met by cameras, officials, and crowds. To many, he became a symbol of endurance. To others, his story was deeply unsettling, because behind the survival was an enormous cost.
27 years of isolation. 27 years without family, ordinary work, ordinary food, or ordinary time. The world had not paused for him. Only he had remained hidden inside the wall.
After his return, Yokoi married and lived in Japan. He gave interviews and spoke about survival, discipline, and the life he had built in the jungle. His tools, clothing, and handmade objects became historical artifacts. They were proof of human endurance, but also proof of how long war can continue inside a person after the battlefield goes silent. Shōichi Yokoi died in 1997 at the age of 82. He was not the last Japanese soldier found after World War II, but on Guam, his discovery became one of the most remarkable holdout stories ever recorded. A man entered the jungle during 1 century of war and came out into a world that had almost forgotten he existed.
Sometimes history does not end when the fighting stops. Sometimes it waits in silence until someone finally finds it.